Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about maybe the single most important skill a data analyst can have. And you know what? It has absolutely nothing to do with Python or SQL or fancy models. It's all about figuring out what your stakeholder actually wants. Because let's be real, if you get that part wrong, everything else you do is, well, it's pretty much a waste of time.
Okay, so let's get right into it. We all hear this buzzword, right? Data-driven. We've got to be data-driven. But you know, the best analysts, they aren't just driven by data. They're driven by people. They get that behind every single row in that spreadsheet, there's a human problem that needs solving. And that is exactly what we're digging into today. How you go from some vague request to a plan that's crystal clear and totally focused on the people.
So just imagine this. You're a data analyst at a food delivery startup. We'll call it Hungry Now. Your manager swings by your desk and hits you with this. We need to improve delivery performance. And you're thinking, okay, great, but now what? I mean, it sounds super important, but it's also ridiculously vague. What on earth does performance even mean? This right here, this is where your real job starts. Look, your first move isn't to fire up your laptop and start querying a database. Nope. Your first job is to put on your detective hat. Your mission really is to translate that fuzzy business speak into a super specific, measurable goal. It's all about decoding what they're really asking for. And this whole decoding thing, it really just breaks down into 3 key steps. First, you have to dig in and understand the stakeholders' actual pain points. What's keeping them up at night? Then you work with them to hammer out a really clear goal. And finally, you figure out what's most important to tackle first. So you go grab your manager at Hungry Now, and you just start asking questions. Simple questions, like, hey, when you say performance, what do you mean? Are we talking about speed? Or maybe how efficient our drivers are? Or is this about customer ratings? Who needs to see this analysis? And the big one, if we fast forward 6 weeks, what does success look like to you? And that's when they tell you. They're worried about late deliveries, specifically on Friday nights in one area, Zone 3. Ah! See, now we're getting somewhere. You know, the best tool in your toolbox for turning that conversation into a real target is the good old SMART goal framework. You want to build an objective that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's a simple structure, but man, it forces everyone to get on the same page and just erases all that initial confusion. And would you just look at the results? It is night and day. We went from that fuzzy, improved delivery performance to this. This is a powerful, actionable statement. Every single part of this goal tells us what to do. We know exactly where to look, Zone 3. We know when, Fridays. We know what to measure, late deliveries. And we have our target, a 25% cut in the next 6 weeks. Boom. And to make sure there's zero confusion later on, you also agree on the rules of the game. This is your acceptance criteria. It means you sit down and define exactly what counts as a late delivery. You lock in the specific time window you're going to analyze. You agree on the exact data sources you'll use. That way, there's just no room for ambiguity down the road. Okay, so we have a super clear goal. We've defined the rules. Now we can finally switch gears from asking questions to actually building a plan of attack. This is where we map out exactly how we're going to get this done. And what's so cool is that your SMART goal practically writes your to-do list for you, right? Each task here is a clear, logical step that gets you closer to answering that core question. You're not just wandering around on the data anymore. You have a focused plan to hunt down those bottlenecks causing all the delays on Friday nights. You know, a really solid plan also spells out who does what. And a RACI chart is perfect for this. It makes it crystal clear who's responsible for doing the work. That's you, the analyst. Who's accountable for the final outcome. That's the operations manager. Who needs to be consulted along the way and who just needs to be kept informed. This little chart prevents so much confusion and just keeps things moving. And here's a pro tip for you. The best analysts, they think about what could go wrong before it actually goes wrong. Like, what happens if some restaurants aren't logging the timestamps for when the food is ready? That's a huge risk to your project. A good plan calls that out right from the start and already has a backup plan, like using a different metric to estimate those times. Now, this is super important. A plan isn't a sacred document that you write once and then follow blindly no matter what.
The data will always surprise you. The real key here is to be flexible and to check in with your stakeholders as you learn new things, not check out. So, you get to work for Hungry Now. You start digging into that Friday night data, and then, bam, you find something huge, a real aha moment. You discover that a full 80% of all the late orders in Zone 3 are coming from just 2 restaurants.
So here's the crucial part. This discovery, it changes everything. You don't just put your head down and keep building that complex dashboard you originally planned. No way. This is your cue to pause, walk back over to your operations manager, and share what you found. This little feedback loop is what makes analytics so incredibly powerful.
And this is where you really get to shine and show your value. Your manager, they might have been picturing some complicated, fancy heat map of the whole city. But now, with this new insight, you can suggest a way better solution. A dead simple, powerful bar chart that points everyone's attention directly at the 2 restaurants causing 80% of the headache. It's simpler, it's faster to build, and it's way, way more effective. Okay, last part, but this is a big one. Once the project is wrapped up, you have got to be able to tell the story of how you did the work. This is so important, especially if you're an apprentice, building up a portfolio, or getting ready for an assessment. You've got to prove your process.
And you do that with these powerful I statements. Don't just say, I did the project. Get specific. Describe your actions. I facilitated a scoping meeting to clarify those vague requirements. I converted those needs into a specific SMART objective. I engaged my stakeholder in a mid-sprint review to adjust our plan based on my initial findings. See, that language shows not just what you did, but how you think. It demonstrates real competence.
So, next time you get one of those vague requests, just remember, your most valuable skill isn't your coding, it's your questioning. It's your ability to uncover what your customer actually wants. Because at the end of the day, data analysis isn't just about finding answers, it's about making sure you're solving the right problem to begin with. So I'll leave you with this to think on. Have you ever started a project where the real goal was totally hidden at the beginning?